How's it going, everyone? This video is going to be over kill zones or sessions. We will hop into a PDF to go over the timing of these kill zones, as well as touch on why they are used. We will then go into TradingView and load in an indicator that will help with the identification of these sessions and go over a few examples. Finally, we will touch on the important liquidity levels created during these sessions, as well as the silver bullet windows. But before we begin, I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you who have watched my videos and subscribed to my channel. This last week, the channel hit 100,000 subscribers. I hope that the videos I have created you have found beneficial in your learning and that you stick around for future videos. So let's get into it. So here we are in the PDF, and the first thing I want to cover is that all the times shown here are in New York time. So that is EST or Eastern Standard Time. Now there is some confusion with daylight savings and how that impacts the kill zones. And the way that I make sure my chart is set up correctly is in TradingView, I just double check that when I select my time zone, it is showing up as New York time. So now that my chart is set in Eastern Standard Time, what are kill zones? Kill zones are specific time windows during the trading day in which the volatility is higher, which makes it more ideal for catching larger ranges. These kill zones are generally separated into 3 different sessions, and that is the Asia session, London session, and then the New York session. Now, we're going to take a look at the Forex kill zone and then the indices kill zone, look at how they're slightly different, and then we will hop into the charts and show examples of that. So first, taking a look at the Forex kill zones, we can take a look at the Asia session, and that is from 20 to 0. London is from 2 to 5. And then the New York AM session begins at 7, lasts until 10, and then London close is from 10 to 12. Now taking a look at the indices, we can see that Asia and London are the same as the Forex kill zones. However, when we get into the New York AM session, that is where they differ. For the indices, the New York AM kill zone is from 8:30 to 11, and then the PM session is from 13:30 to 1600, or from 1:30 to 4. So let's hop back into TradingView where we can look at a few examples as well as an indicator that can help us with this. So what we are going to do here is take a few examples of marking up some Forex charts and then indice charts with the kill zones, and then we will look at an indicator that will automate it for us. So the first thing we're going to do is mark out our Asian range, which would be from 20 to 0. So marking those out with vertical lines, let's take a look at the range that was created here, and I will mark that out with a blue box. Next thing we're going to do is take a look at the London session range from 2 to 5. And with that, I will mark it out with a green box. The next thing I'm going to look at is from 7 to 10 right here, and that will be our New York AM session, and I will mark that out with an orange box. And then our London close from 10 to 12. And so looking at this here, we can see that Asia accumulates, London manipulates, and then we distribute lower through the New York session before London close keeps us in this range. So taking a look at another example here, if we mark out from 20 to 0, that is our Asia session range. And so we'll mark that out. Then looking from 2 to 5 right here for London, and then marking out from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock for the AM session, and then from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock for London close. So now that we are on the indices chart, let's practice marking out the kill zones for this instrument. So looking from 20 to midnight or 0, let's mark out our Asia range. Then from 2 to 5, we have London. Now this is where it's different between Forex and indices. Here we are looking at 8:30 to 11, and that will be our AM session kill zone. And then from 13:30 to 1600 for the PM session. Now let's continue this into the next day before we look at the indicator that will automate this for us. So marking out from our 20 to 0, it's pretty clear that Asia was consolidating. Next, I'm going to mark out the range from 2 to 5. And you can see that price is not doing a whole lot as it's waiting for the NFP news event at 8:30. Next thing we're going to do is mark out our 8:30 to 11. And that is our AM session. And then from 13:30 to 1600 is our PM session. And you might notice from doing this that a large portion of the daily range is created from this New York AM session. Now let's take a look at the indicator that can help us automate this. So here we are on TradingView, and we'll want to go up to indicators, and from here we will type in kill zones. And here we have ICT Killzone and pivots from TFO, and we will add that to our chart. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove all our drawings so our chart isn't super cluttered. Double click on the indicator to hop into the settings, and then we'll go ahead and review all of these. I'm going to go ahead and go through each setting just as I've received a lot of questions on this indicator. So this setting right here limits the number of sessions that your indicator draws for. So right now, having it set to 3, it will draw back 3 sessions and no further. If I add a 4th, you will see it will add in another session here. So we'll go ahead and leave that on the default. The time frame limit here means that if I'm under a 30-minute chart, I will still see these indicators. However, if I'm above a 30-minute chart, these indicators will disappear. Here is the time zone, and I want to make sure that is lined up with my time zone down there or on New York time. This label size will change the label of our sessions right here. I will generally have this on tiny or off, and I will show you how to do that as well. Now the next thing we'll go over is the drawing cutoff time. So you can see this is drawing our true day open, our session highs and lows. However, you notice all these drawings get cut off at 12 o'clock. Now if I wanted these to extend further, I can just adjust that time. So if I wanted to extend these lines towards the end of day, I can change this time to 1600, and you'll see that they get extended. Now the next part is where we are going to focus, is the kill zones and kill zone pivots. This is what will draw our boxes as well as our liquidity points for our sessions. So let's go through each option. This is the option which, if we toggle it on or off, we'll get rid of our kill zone boxes. For the sake of this video, we're going to keep this on as we want it to show up. Now the next thing is the labels. I personally don't like the labels. I just want to relate a color to a session, so I'll go ahead and turn those off. The next thing I'm going to do is adjust these boxes to fit the colors I want. And with that, I want Asia as blue, London as green, New York AM as orange, and then the PM session as a yellow. I don't want to have New York lunch, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it off there. Now that I have the colors adjusted, I want to make sure that my times are correct. So if you notice, we have Asia at 20 to 0, London at 2 to 5, and then this is where it's going to differ between Forex and indices. I'm going to focus on indices, so I'll make this as 8:30 to 11, and then 13:30 to 1600. Now that those are set up, let's go to the rest of the settings. So what are kill zone pivots? Now if you've seen my liquidity video, you know I put a large amount of emphasis on important highs and lows, such as daily highs and lows, weekly highs and lows, as well as session highs and lows. So this is going to draw out my session highs and lows. As you can see here, we have our Asia session high and low, and that will be marked out here. Now, just as I wanted a clean box here, I also want to clean up my chart a little. So I will hit this button right here and not have it show the labels. Now, if you want to mess around with these settings, feel free, but we're going to hop into the opening price and the timestamps. Now, the opening price section will mark out a horizontal line at any time you choose. So for example here, if I wanted to mark out our 8:30 open, I can type in 8:30 here, change my time to 8:30 and 8:31, and then when I turn this on, I will get a new line that has our 8:30 open marked out and the label I selected here. Similarly, if I wanted a vertical line, I would go down to a timestamp here, and let's say I want to mark out our midnight open with a vertical line. I can go ahead and hit our midnight right here, and then that will add in a vertical line at true day open. So let's take a look at an example of how these kill zones can be used. So here we have our Asia range. So let's see what happens as we enter into the London session. As we enter our London session, you can see we swept Asia low and then displaced back into the range, and we have a fair value gap here. So if price is going to return into this fair value gap, I'd anticipate it to be used as support and then reach for Asia high. However, price does leave us, so let's see what happens next. So here we get aggressive out and then back into the range. If you are familiar with the box setup video, taking these previous highs can extend those over and anticipate that to act as resistance. So that does act as resistance, and we also create a fair value gap here. So here price reaches back up into this fair value gap, the bodies are respecting, so I'd like to see it reach through this old fair value gap. So now we're getting displacement lower. We have up close candles into an important level, then getting closed below. So we also have an order block here now. So if we're going to drag over this fair value gap, we're getting displacement lower, up close candles, old fair value gaps. Let's see what happens as we enter the New York AM session. And another thing we can do is project our London manipulation from this high to this low. And now we're in our 2 to 2.5 standard deviations, where we can anticipate a retracement or a reversal. Now what we can also do is mark out our OTE of this range from London high to this current low, and see if we have overlapping confluences with our OTE, which we do. Here we make another low, so we'll drag this lower, and we start to move higher. So if I'm anticipating London to set the high a day and get expansion lower, I can look to take an entry in this old fair value gap with my stop on this high, or at this high, since we have up close candles into a fair value gap, create an intermediate term high. From here, I can look to take off at this low, or reach for our 4 standard deviation down here. So zooming out, let's see what happens. And there the New York AM session is concluded. We hit the projection from our London manipulation, but let's see what happens as we reach into the PM session. So if we mark out our up close candles here, let's see how this plays out. So there we get up close candles. We now close below these series of up close candles. There's the PM session, and then the end of day. The main point I was trying to show in this section is that generally high probability moves occur during Killzones. Killzones can also be used to help determine the power of 3 or open high-low close of the daily candle, and I will look to show that in a future video. Now let's hop back into the PDF and go over the silver bullet windows. The silver bullet is once again in Eastern Standard Time, and essentially it is narrowing down these Killzones to a 1-hour window. Now within this 1-hour window, I am looking for opportunities for price to draw to a liquidity pool or some sort of draw on liquidity. Now if you want to learn more about the silver bullet, check out ICT's channel as he has lots of content regarding it. So looking for ways to mark out the silver bullet window, what I can do is go into the indicator, and the easiest way I have found would be to change the timestamps and have it mark out a 10 and 11. So then I will get vertical lines at the start and end of the silver bullet window. So it would look something like this. Here 10 o'clock hits, that's the start of the silver bullet window. There 11 o'clock hits and the end of the silver bullet window. Another way to do this would be to change this New York lunch or any session to an AM silver bullet, and then from there just adjusting the time, turning that on, and then you'll see that it highlights the time in which the silver bullet occurs. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.